Good morning.
Yeah, it's working.
I want to welcome you to the fall Madisonville Community College Personal Effectiveness Skills Convocation. Today we have a panel of professionals that will share some thoughts with you. But before doing that, I would like to set the convocation up with why we do this. In 2014, the the U.S. Chamber polled over 1,000 businesses and asked them, what is the one thing that you desire most with your employees or the ones you're going to hire? And it was 90-something%. They all said the same thing. We don't have enough soft skills, personal effectiveness skills of the employees that we hire, nor the ones that we have working. So we actually did that same thing with businesses in our service area, our 5-county service area. We invited them in and asked them, what is the one thing that you want? And they said exactly the same thing. So for the last 4 years, Madisonville Community College has been committed to trying to change that for our students and give them the opportunity not only to get a great education, which we feel like we provide for you here at Madisonville Community College, but also to have those skills that you need to get hired, stay hired, and excel in your job. So today is one of those opportunities. So I'd like to introduce our panel. Immediately behind me, to my right here, is Chad Hart. Chad is the director of the Madisonville YMCA. To Chad's right is Jason Hawkins, president and CEO of First United Bank and Trust. To Jason's right is Tanya Bowman, Hopkins County Circuit Court Clerk and former student of Madisonville Community College. At this time, I would like to have Chad Hart come up to the podium and share his thoughts with
us. Felicia, Mike, thanks for having me. I was actually in your seat. We've all been in your seat. We've been on that side wondering how this is done, and I don't know if like you, but I've actually had people tell me that I'd never be where I'm at today, and I'm a CEO. So yeah, I've also started out as a janitor working floor hours in the same organization and become the CEO of the organization. So what I'm telling you today, I don't have a PhD in how to get the job. I've messed up a lot. I've said some stupid things in front of some very important people, a lot. I've learned to backtrack and become a politician with my words. So today is 5 minutes and my clock's already started, so there is going to be a lot of, that wasn't my 1 minute warning, was it, Felicia?
No,
okay, thank you.
I'm so sorry.
I'm not going to be able to dig deep into this, but I'm going to hit some highlights. So number one, where you're going, assuming you're going somewhere you want to go, not just getting the job to pay the bills, research your company. You need to know if they're mission driven. The YMCA is a very mission driven company. Everything that goes through our strategy screen, if we're going to do it or not do it, we reflect back to our mission. So you're going to need to know, is this a core-based, a value-based company? Know who you're talking to and what they're about. I ask every single interview, do you know anything about my mission? If they don't know about my mission, they don't know nothing about me or my wife. Your resume, please have someone review it for errors. Don't write in text language. Don't TTYL. We will talk to you later, but probably not in an interview. I like quantitative data, difference between qualitative and quantitative. So like, I don't like description of what you've done, I like the number of what you've done. So Colin, you've taught swim lessons. I don't want to know that you've taught kids to swim. I want to know between 2017 and 2019, what's the percentage of growth in swim lessons. That shows me growth, progression, and bettering yourself in your clientele. Starting out, a lot of y'all are probably that 18 to 22 age range. we need all your work history. I don't want to just say like, oh, he went to college, she went to college. They've never had a job though. So put everything down, the McDonald's, the Taco John's, the whatever, but also, not getting too deep, you need to know when to cut all that out. When, like you've had a bunch of professional jobs, let's cut out the McDonald's, you know. Okay. Remember, the employer is hiring a person, not a piece of paper. So resume is important, but if you can get in front of that employer, they worry about you, not so much what's on that resume. Recently, I've hired a director of sports and aquatics and a director of member experience. One was a stay-at-home mom and one worked in the law office, and both had zero experience in what they did. I hired them off their character, their integrity, their personable skills, just being able to connect. They were both mothers, so they understood the programs that I was hiring them for. So think about that. I can coach anybody, like literally just about anybody, if they're coachable, to do a good job. I can't coach you not to be a crappy person. Think about it. You are who you are. You'll fake it, but eventually you won't make it. I know you've always heard fake it till you make it. Eventually you won't make it. That personality will come out, and who you are will be who you are. I'll snoop that out, and a good employer will too. You got to think, who are you when no one's looking? And then, how are you motivated? Are you that person that needs a high-octane sales job that you're motivated by commissions? Or are you just going to go out there and do a job because that's the way you were brought up and the way you were taught to act? I'm not going to go into the differences, but intrinsic versus extrinsic. Two big different motivating factors, and I think you all need to learn those. The era of social media. If you would be embarrassed to let your grandma read your social media, Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, all the things that I don't have, or the other things I don't have, your employer has probably already seen it and you've probably already been X'd off. I don't pre-screen candidates. I get a resume, immediately social media. Good person, bad person, okay, next, or I'll think about it. You got to think about that. You're being searched before you're even being called for an interview. I know social media is your personal property, and it's your personal decision what to put on there. It's also the employer's personal decision not to hire you, so let that go. References. This is important. A good reference can get you a great job. A bad reference, someone you think is on your side, will make sure you don't get a job. Don't dare put down a company as a reference if you frequently mess them over. A good employer, past employer, I'm right on track. A past employer will rat you out because they care more about their personal integrity and character than you getting that next job. I've got roughly 100 employees. Of that, 93% are part-time hourly employees. Most are between the ages of 16 and 22. And I tell everyone, you're not working for me, you're working for your reference. So work hard. I can literally get you any job that you want, but you have to work hard for me first. Be unforgettable in a respectful type of way. Don't sit in a chair in the interview room until you're asked to take a seat. Make eye contact. Shake hands. Restate names when they ask you a question. They'll know how you'll treat their customers by how you treat them. So think about that. Promise them that although you may lack some experience, if you're new to the workforce, that no one with more experience can out-hustle your work ethic and work hard.
Wow, that was to the second, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
Okay, our next speaker is Tanya Bowman, Hopkins County Circuit Court Clerk.
Thank you, Felicia. Thanks for the opportunity to be here to speak today. 5 minutes, y'all. Y'all know me, 5 minutes is going to be a struggle, but I'm going to get it over with. David knows. But anyway, again, I am Tanya Bowman. And the first thing I want to say is MCC is a wonderful and awesome higher learning institution. I started at MCC and I did it later in life. And if I could tell you anything, it's never too late to learn. And so I started coming here, I think in 2011. I was in my late 30s. It helped that I did kind of blend in because I look kind of young, Felicia. But I came here, and first thing I did when I decided I wanted to further my education and I really wanted to start a career, I called Natalie Cooper. So I'm so glad she's here, and she met with me and she helped me get on the right track. And even when I started coming to MCC, I started taking advantage of all the different programs. I wanted to get involved, and so I wanted to do the work study program. So I went to Tamithia at Purdue, and I told her what I wanted to do. I was studying criminal justice, and so she called the courthouse and she got me in at the courthouse as an intern for Judge Susan McClure in family court. And while I was there, I met some people in the clerk's office, and I started working at the clerk's office. I worked there for 6 years until I finally decided to resign that job and run for the position of circuit court clerk. And last year I was elected as the Hopkins County Circuit Court clerk. But I say humbly that my beginnings begin here at MCC, and I'll never forget what you all have done for me. And so I'm at a job now where I do get to interview people and I do get to hire people. And so if I had to give you any advice, Chad did a fantastic job talking to you about how to get a job, but there's no sense in getting a job if you can't keep a job. Can I get an amen? And so I just want to just tell you how in my eyes that you can actually keep the job that you get. Now, back in my day, the old grandmothers, they used to give us advice, and we would listen to our old grandmothers. I don't know if y'all had a grandmother that you listened to, but I remember grandmothers would give us advice about relationships, because you know how we are with relationships. We see somebody that looks good to us and we want that person, we pursue that person, and then it seems like sometimes after we get what we want, we start to get relaxed. And so I remember the old grandmothers used to tell us this, and they were saying this is very good advice about relationships, but also about the job. But the old grandmothers would say to us when they saw us slipping in a relationship, because when you're pursuing a girl, guys, you do everything that you can. You tell them how beautiful they are, and you do all the things you have to do to get that relationship. Or by the same token, girls, y'all know how we are when we're interested in a guy. We stay beautied up and we do all these things that are necessary to do that. But then once that relationship happens, we kind of get relaxed in those things and we start slipping and we take them for granted. But the old grandmothers used to say, baby, the same thing it took to get a man, it takes to keep a man. And that's the same thing with a job. The things that you did when you saw that job or you sought out that job that you wanted, the things that you had to do to get that job is going to take to keep that job. I get so frustrated. One of my pet peeves is when I interview people, I try to really be able to read people. So you can come in there with the best resume. You can get somebody. You can come out here and get somebody to help you with your resume, and you can put together the perfect resume. You can come to the office and interview, and you can give the perfect interview. But in order to keep that job, my advice to you is be who you say you are. When you come to an interview and you say, I'm this or I'm that, and I'm this kind of person, I'm organized, I'm dependable, the things, because you know what, we will believe you. If you come and you can sell yourself, but once you get that job and you start working in that office or wherever it is, then you have to do those things necessary in order to keep the job. I interviewed a couple of young people, and my thing with young people are the cell phones, and Chad hit on that. But I interviewed a girl not too long ago, and she told me, she said, oh, I'm not like the other millennials. I don't stay on my phone. I don't stay on social media. I don't do this and I don't do that. But soon as we hired her and me and my chief deputy talked, we like, she's perfect. She's perfect. But then once they start working in the office, then we see them on the cell phones. And I even did this one day. I posted something on Facebook at 9 o'clock in the morning, and she was the first one who liked it, So she was on Facebook. So you all, social media be there when you get off, and you have breaks and different things like that to do those things. But whatever you said in that interview, when you came with your perfect resume, the things that you said in that interview to get that job is going to take the exact same things in order to keep that job. And if I can give you no other advice, I would say, be who you said you were. Be who you say you are in that interview. Be that when you get on the clock as well. Okay? All right.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Jason Hawkins, President and CEO, First United Bank.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Felicia. I want to talk to you today a little bit about how to excel. You've interviewed for the job, you got the job. Now what do you need to do to take it to the next level? Well, taking it to the next level is not as much about your employer as it is about you. It's how you do with that employer. It's how you handle yourself that's going to allow that to go to the next level. And so I've got a few things that I jotted down that I want to kind of share with you today. First and foremost, understand your employer and your employer's goals. If you don't know what the goals of the employer are, you're not going to be able to excel because you're certainly not going to know how to meet those goals. So you need to find that out. Find out who your employer is and make sure that you know exactly what the goals are of the organization. You also need to get to know your boss and your colleagues. You want to make sure that you establish relationships with them. You want to get to know them on a personal level if they'll allow you to, because that way you're going to have a much stronger connection. Part of excelling at the job is showing up, in all honesty. You have to be there. You have to be a team player. And being a team player is not just showing up. It's actually learning how to be a good team member. It's learning how to support your team. And sometimes you support their team at the detriment to yourself, just because you want to make sure that you are a good team player. If you're a good team player, you're going to also gain trust in the organization. Follow through with what your tasks that you're given. If you made a promise that says, I have a deadline to meet, I'm going to have this done by a certain time, guess what? Get it done by that certain time. Make sure that you establish early on that you're on the team, that you're a valuable member, and that they can trust you. You're going to get a lot of stuff given to you if they can see that they trust you. You also need to be ready to learn every day when you come to work. Every day is an opportunity. You may look at things as problems or whatever. Every challenge that you have is a learning opportunity. So be ready every day to learn something new. It's going to continue driving you. Take initiative. That's extremely important. You've got to take the initiative to better yourself. Nobody else is going to toot your own horn, so to speak. You've got to be able to do that. You've got to be, able to take suggestions from a boss or a coworker. You've got to be able to provide insight onto certain things. You've got to be able to set goals that you want to achieve and work toward achieving those goals. But don't just wait for your employer to come at you and evaluate how you've done. Be your own evaluator. Set those goals. Look at yourself and say, how have I measured up against that? You need to communicate well. That's extremely important. You need to be able to communicate, and we've talked about it, with your emails, with your phone conversations. Using good grammar is all going to show that you're a professional. You need to anticipate needs. If there's a need of the organization, you want to be able to anticipate that and provide suggestions. And also, show, don't tell. Don't say, we got a problem with this. No, create a solution for that problem. If you've got an issue that needs to be addressed, come in with, hey, I know that this is an issue, but I think we can solve it in this way. If you show that you can do that, then you're going to show your value to the team. You've got to also be compassionate. It is not all about you. It is about the organization, and you've got to be compassionate to your coworkers. What that means is don't be a gossip. Don't go out there and tell everything that you hear. Make things stop with you. Have a positive attitude. You need to make sure you do that every day. Be professional. Be professional in your appearance. Be professional in how you address others. Accept constructive criticism. Some people are going to, give you feedback, and accept that graciously and gracefully. Go the extra mile for your people. Stretch your skill set. Try to learn something new every day. Give an opportunity. Volunteer for a new project if it comes up. You're going to learn a lot if you do that. The other way to do that is to become a mentor to somebody else that's new. Talk to them, bring them along, and then finally, last but not least, practice giving. because giving is going to make you very successful. You've got to be able to give, and that's not only just money, that's your time and that's your talent. So make every opportunity to make every day a good day, and you're going to excel and do great things. I look forward to seeing you.
Thank you very much. Before I dismiss you, though, I would like to remind you that I'm pretty sure this is not their first job. They worked their way up the ladder. All three of these people lived and worked exactly what they're preaching to you today. So I hope you learned something today. I hope you appreciate the opportunity to get to come and listen to professionals like this and how successful they are. I would like to remind you that this is not the only session that we're having today. There's 2 more sessions if you're available. And there'll be 3 new speakers at both of those. So there's 6 more opportunities to get to hear a professional talk about how you can get a job, keep a job, and excel in the job. Thank you very much for your time.